You made how much money this last year?
All right, I made 7.1 last year in 2023. 2024, we just crossed 11.5 million.
And how much money did you pay in taxes for those that don't know?
Last year, I paid $0 in federal taxes, $26,000 in state taxes. And this year in 2024, I'm on pace to pay less than $92,000 in total taxes.
Now, how the hell was this possible, man? Because that's insane. You're touching 8 figures, high 7 figures in a single year, and you're not paying anything in taxes. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, how am I doing this? Okay, so
first of all, is that legal?
Everything I'm doing is legal. Everything I'm doing is legal.
If the IRS wanted to come after you,
I welcome them. IRS, you know who Carlton Dennis is. I have one of the largest YouTube channels for tax strategy. The IRS knows who I am. I'm not afraid of the IRS. I'm not afraid to use the tax code against the IRS. And everything that I do is by the book, which is why I have so much fun with the tax code. I focus on income shifting strategies. How do I take money off of my tax returns? I focus on depreciation. How do I create a paper loss by investing in real estate? And most importantly, I'm philanthropic. I have a private family foundation that gives money back to other charities outside of my own that allows for me to also reduce my tax bill. These are the 3 things that I do every single year that keep me at 0% on the federal side. And I do pay a little bit of that Cali tax, but I'm okay with it.
Yeah, so I got to say this though, because I want to put this in perspective for everyone watching right now.
Yeah.
Some of your clients are some of the biggest business owners in the world.
Yep.
And I've interviewed guys, a lot of the people I've interviewed are his clients. So you know this stuff better than anybody else.
Yeah.
And my goal for this video is to be a masterclass for anybody watching to understand the ins and outs, to the loopholes, to being able to avoid these taxes, right? Because as you know it, the biggest expense for most business owners is what?
Their taxes, man. It's always the taxes, not your mortgage, not your car payment, it's not your payroll, it's your taxes.
Have you seen people go broke with big tax bills?
I have seen people go broke with a big tax bill because they spend more money than what they have left over to pay Uncle Sam. And by the time that they get the check from Uncle Sam, they don't have enough money in their bank account to pay it.
Wow. So let's get right into it. What are some of the industries that you've invested in personally that's been able to allow you to alleviate that bill and not have to pay anything to offset that?
It depends on the type of income that you're earning. If you're a full-time W-2 or 1099 taxpayer, highly recommend that you look at short-term rentals because the IRS will allow for you to manage the short-term rental for 100 hours and it becomes an active business. If your tenants are staying in the property 7 days or less, you can perform a strategy called the cost segregation study, which forces a paper loss on the tax returns. And that paper loss is what can offset somebody's W-2 or somebody's 1099 income. If you're somebody that maybe has a spouse that's not working, maybe it's like a husband that's working and the wife's home taking care of the kids, this is a perfect situation where you can make your wife a real estate professional. She manages over the real estate portfolio and you can then make the real estate portfolio an active real estate business. If you perform the cost segregation study strategy, it creates a large tax deduction on the paper and then that paper tax deduction can offset your W-2 or your 1099 income.
Now I can speak for a lot of entrepreneurs. This year, our company will do, this is our first year that we're doing 7 figures.
Congratulations,
thank you, my friend. Hey, 22, not too bad for 22.
Not at all.
But I wanted to ask though, right? Because most people that get into business, they don't realize the insane amount that you are going to have to pay in taxes if you're not smart about having a strategy to kind of avoid that. So let's talk to the people that are just starting out. Maybe let's say that they're making their first 6 figures. They're making $100,000 this year. And maybe they didn't run super lean, where they had some expenses. They didn't have great margins. And they can't afford to in their business pay insane amounts in taxes. We see this a lot, especially for people that are just starting to kind of make a lot more money, 6 figures, 7 figures. What are some of those initial steps that people should take to, again, avoid having to pay these crazy burdens? And maybe if they don't have the means to be able to start investing in real estate, are there any other things that people can do to be able to avoid having to pay crazy tax bills to save a lot more of that money?
Yeah, the first thing that you want to do as a self-employed individual that's starting to come into some money is look at your entity structuring. Most self-employed individuals start out as sole proprietorships or single member LLCs, and that's great until you cross about $50,000 to $60,000. Once you're across that point, you need to look at switching to an S corporation to avoid paying self-employment taxes. It's this nasty 15.3% on all of your business's profits. If you just switch to an S corporation, you can give yourself a salary now, and now you only pay that 15.3% on whatever you took out of your business. You completely avoid 15.3% on the rest of your business's profits. So that's step number 1, entity structuring. Step number 2 is let's figure out, did you take advantage of all the things that you spent your money on? Because sometimes business owners spend money on things that they didn't know were write-offs. And so we can allocate expenses that we're taking on the personal card over to business if you forgot or didn't know that something was supposed to be a business write-off. This can include cell phones, laptops, travel that should have been business travel that you thought was personal. We can allocate those expenses over to your business to drop down that total liability.